two things, stopping at the stop sign and the speed limit, that device should have been right across the street from the stop sign on that tree right there. It would have killed two birds with one stone. It would have showed that the vehicles were not stopping at the stop sign, and it would have showed excess speed.
Well, I mean,
instead of putting it down here.
I mean, maybe that's where, I mean, we own the equipment, so we can do it again. I would
It's
say.
not
I
in
mean, I don't
yet,
wanna speak for
Ron,
the police
it's not in
department.
yet.
No, I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about the monitor equipment.
Yeah,
We last year.
We bought oh, you're talking about the
things
okay,
that
the little
measure
black
the
box,
traffic and all
okay.
that kind of stuff. We can put them out. I mean, I'm not, you know, I don't wanna speak for the police department, we own that equipment, so I don't see any reason why we can't have the police departments reschedule that kind of stuff.
Well, a hard look needs to be taken because you have three bus stops on that location, and we already had one incident with a vehicle that passed the stopped bus with children exiting that bus. And it was lucky that nobody off that bus was crossing in front of that bus at that time when that vehicle came through, because there would have been multiple deaths, and you'd have heard a lot more from higher up legal authorities than just the Spring Mountain Homeowners Association. And I can guarantee it, because the people within our community are up in arms about this whole situation. And if you'd like, we could forward all those emails every day that we keep on getting from people. And then you see the complaints that we're getting on a daily basis for months. I mean, we've been trying to do something about this issue for months, and we're just hitting a brick wall.
We've been working on that for a couple of years now, trying to get the information together, purchase the equipment, trying to get the info so that we know what to do. And I'm speaking as a former supervisor, not current. But I know in our discussions in previous meetings, everybody wants to solve the problem. It's just a matter of how we got to get it done. And the more information we can do, the better. And, you know, the whole traffic calming committee hopefully will come up with some ideas.
Okay, so
Not everyone's going to like them, but it might work.
I think all we're asking for is a plan to move forward, so that we can alleviate some fears.
One other, just an aside, many years ago, I lived in a townhouse development, my first house. And we did have a problem with somebody, it was a small community, it was only like 48, something like that. The board paid a visit to them twice, still wouldn't solve the problem. Somebody's car broke down at the end of their driveway, they couldn't get to work on time, it was a shame.
Yeah, well,
You know,
So I
I'm just
think-
saying.
So I think we're all in agreement. I think the supervisors are in agreement, and that we want to continue this discussion. And it would be most appropriate to do it at our meeting a week from today, when our police chief will be here. And we also have another action, which is at least one of you will be joining the traffic calming committee.
okay.
And I think, have you started meeting yet?
Not yet.
Okay, but you will be soon?
I'm hoping, I think Tom is working on some stuff directed from the last meeting, I think.
Right.
Didn't you direct Carol and Tom to talk or something like that?
So what's the date of the meeting?
You'll have to,
I-
the supervisor meeting is a week from
Next
today.
Tuesday.
I want to interject here,
The
because
first
I don't,
Tuesday.
Oh, it's a regular meeting, okay. All right,
I
very
don't
good.
think that this discussion, just like this one right here, even though it's helpful, it's informative, spend 25 minutes chasing our tails, kind of. I think that would continue at a larger meeting. You gotta break it down to a small, you gotta involve the police. They have to be involved. And the steering committee, the key people, this
Well,
have to be
whose job is it to involve the police?
manager.
Next meeting.
How about I
To
reach
have
out to the
this-
chief
to
tomorrow,
have
that'll help?
This discussion, this has to go through
I'll talk to
Kevin.
him
This
about
goes
Okay.
through Kevin, our manager.
I'll talk.
Okay, and I know you may be frustrated because you don't get anywhere maybe with the police, all right? The police do what they gotta do. They got a lot of different ways and tentacles and go in a lot of different directions. We do have a traffic enforcement person now. That's something we did not have before. We've done enforcement heavily over, I guess, November, December. Well, we never did anything like that, a blitz like that. And it may not have been designated right in your area there at Village Drive, but it was up on Zieglerville Road, and it was out here on Main Street. So they are addressing some of these issues, may not be specific to that one site that you're talking about, but I don't think that, continued discussion, we all know we've been through this, like, for years, for years and years and years, we're kind of talking about the same
But don't you
thing.
think it's kind of ridiculous that it went on for years and years and years
But
and
see,
years?
that's the problem. We don't have a good solution. That's the problem. Taking the signs out aren't a good solution to me, because then I'm not gonna slow down at all. I'm driving right through.
Did I?
A sign is there, I'm gonna stop.
I don't remember saying that I advocated taking the signs
I
out.
did, I did.
Oh.
There, I
So-
mean, right now they have blinking stop signs that different municipalities and townships are putting in problem areas that are solar powered.
Okay, so my point, that's a good point. That should come up
Okay.
in this small group, this traffic calming committee group, all right, whoever this happens to end up being. And it should be a relatively small group, I feel, and we should talk about it. And you throw these ideas out, and you write them all down and decide which ones you think can potentially work and how it can be presented. And it's gotta go, I believe, Kevin, chime in, it's gotta be through the manager and through the police department. The rest of it, or you're gonna have supervisors directing somebody to do something like, well, go ahead then, put stop signs out there and go enforce them. And that's where we're at now. That obviously is not working. So,
Well,
I'm hesitant to just continue a discussion at a general meeting, because I don't think we're gonna get anywhere
Well,
with it.
I beg to differ, and the reason I'm gonna disagree with you respectfully is that the issue of speeding and blowing through stop signs is one that impacts on our entire township. I've got it in my neighborhood, you know that. I think every neighborhood in this township has the issue. People drive too fast, we've got corners, we've got kids, we've got no sidewalks. I think this is an issue that everybody has an interest in, and I also think that with our police chief here, it's gonna be a more productive, briefer, more to the point discussion. So I would argue, because this is of interest to the general population, not just your neighborhood, that
Correct.
this is something that should be done at the public meeting.
I can only speak for my development.
No, I hear you. All right, you wanna talk about it, talk about it. Well, I'll stand up and talk for 45 minutes about my intersection down here at Spring Mount Road, Main
You're gonna
Street.
get 2 minutes. Bob.
Okay,
What do you
no,
want?
hell no. I'm going 45 minutes uninterrupted, okay? I'm gonna tell you about blowing stop signs and, throwing rocks at cars and all kinds of issues and problems that go on down there. All kinds of stuff, all right? You know what? It's what it is.
Quick question, Tom.
It's what it is.
If they're residents blowing these stop signs, is it legal for the homeowners to fine those residents?
That's the problem, it's not our residents.
Oh, it's not the
No,
residents?
95% of
So is it a friend of the residents?
no, it's people coming from Cedar Hill.
In a nutshell here, because I want to move on, I appreciate you, I understand your concern, believe me, I live it too. I live right here, I see it all the time. People don't even stop Main Street. I pull out of my driveway, pshoo, they come right
I've never
around.
seen it.
And then when I'm in their way, they're looking at me, yeah, I'm like, I damn near get T-boned. But, here, I see this like this. The only answer to this is you got a cop sitting there, How else are you gonna enforce or control anything unless you have a cop sitting there, right, observing and writing tickets? Okay, so is that feasible? Is that possible to have a cop there all the time doing that?
Well, can we agree then to move on to the next agenda item, and we'll revisit this next week?
Well, I'm just.
I really don't appreciate you marginalizing the problem, okay?
What's that?
I really don't appreciate you marginalizing the problem.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, it's kind of sort of a joke to you.
No, it's
And
not.
it's not a
Get
joke
all
to me.
of
Well,
it.
it seems like it's a joke to you.
I don't think
If I
it's
can
that way.
interject some common sense here, I've lived in this community for almost 23 years. This is not a problem that has just started. And it's just not Cedar Hill people. It's going from both directions. This is a common, across the township problem. This is a small percentage of the population who cannot respect what is the law. The law is, there's a stop sign, common sense says you stop. The speed limit sign says 25, that doesn't mean you do 52. This is common sense stuff. We've got people in this community that will continue to do this. I don't care if you have a police officer sitting there, if you have a stop sign there, or you have a speed limit sign. It's not going to stop. Now, how we do this, I don't know the answer to this. This has been an ongoing problem. I live at the bottom of a hill. Do you think people do 25? They don't even do close to 25. I have children just like you have children in your community. This is not a Spring Mountain problem. This is not a Cedar Hill problem. This is a community-wide problem. Until we as community members decide to voice our opinion to the community, I know we have township supervisors, I know we have people in, but they don't have the capacity or the finances. If you want it, let's throw out the tax dollars, let's roll up the tax, we'll add a whole bunch of tax dollars to our and well, maybe we'll solve the problem. This comes down to human decency and people respecting law. They just don't do it anymore.
50% of the people go through stop signs. I see it every day.
I don't know who the people's names are, so if you're
My
not
name is Scott LaCava. I live at 102 Schwank Road. I see it every day. This ain't gonna be solved. I know,
We would like it to be. But it's not.
it's not gonna be solved.
I know it's not. We'd
50% of the people.
we'd like it to be.
It's not a few people. I see it every day. When they up the speed limits on the highways, that's what started getting worse everywhere, and you're not gonna fix it. 50% of the people. If I put an action cam on my truck, you'll see in one day, I'll see people driving with their knees, texting. I see people blowing through stop signs, never stopping 20, 30 cars in a row. They
We're
don't
not,
listen. So
we're not marginalizing your
It's
concern,
just-
please.
it's
It's
hard.
just we live this with you, and we don't know how to solve it. Until people individually decide to make a decision on whether or not they're doing the
Okay,
right or wrong thing.
So
That's-
we're digressing a little bit from our particular problem. Our particular problem is that we have stop signs put up by the township on township roads that have been deemed not lawful. And so the police can't do anything about enforcing it. Even if they showed up one day a week, they don't want to do anything because the stop signs are illegal. We want to find out, what do we have to do to get legal stop signs put up? That's all.
No, I understand.
Without the homeowners association, you have to pay $5,000 for a traffic study.
All right, let's move on.
All right, next item is just notice of a recycling event in Skippack. I believe this had taken place before. They were looking to the township for any sort of monetary donation to defray the cost.
What does it include? It says electronics, that mean like TVs,
Computers.
cell phones, okay.
Is this a county program, this
No.
one? This is not a county? Okay. Because the county we don't contribute to, but it might be worthwhile. So they will only accept from residents of townships that are contributing, you know?
No, they will be accepting from anybody, if they're looking for a cost to defray the cost.
Did we do this before?
Joe,
I don't remember.
Can I have that?
I don't
The
know.
ones we did before, Bob.
Can you email it to me?
Yeah.
Sponsored.
Yeah, I don't think we've worked with this.
Oh, text me.
On your phone, I got it on my phone,
And that's it on the correspondence.
and it works.
You need an email address for him? He's gonna text it. Okay, thanks.
We decided what we're gonna do is pay bills twice a month.
Right now.
We're having issues with our vendors, because we only, Ford was only paying bills once a month. Late notices and emails and things of that sort, so. What we decided to do in the office was we're going to pay bills twice a month to eliminate that. So the motion to accept that, then?
I'll second it.
So this is just to pay the bills twice a month,
And, well, this is the list of the bills that.
and to pay the bills.
Right. Any discussion?
Question? Do these people have a problem in the years past? And we've only done it once a month.
Don't know.
Oh, they did? Tommy said, no, they said that, oh, okay, all right, just curious.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next is public comment for agenda items. Okay. move on. Reports, solicitor.
I have a report that you'll probably hear again. In March, I'm only used to doing a report once a month, but I prepared for and conducted the hearing for the Saks conditional use, and I prepared the exhibits and introduced and prepared the decision made by the Board of Supervisors by execution by the Board of Supervisors for execution by the Board of Supervisors following the hearing. I have recently received that and sent it out to Sachs and Son, that decision. I reviewed the submission of the final Bitter subdivision plans and recorded them in the Recorder of Deeds office in Norristown following the execution of the plans by the Board of Supervisors. I prepared a resolution which was passed by the Board of Supervisors for the establishment of an independent committee for the division of Pennsylvania into coherent voting districts. Our office filed an attested copy of Ordinance 1801, amendment to Lower Frederick Township Code 158-17, closing of certain streets to certain vehicles. That was the Gerloff Road ordinance. We filed that with the Montgomery County Law Library as required. And I prepared a letter to the auditors in compliance with the American Bar Association requirements and the requirements of the auditors' accounting standards. That letter involves researching any actions that were filed against the township in the pathonetary's office, or any word of any actions that were going to be filed against the township, and we accomplished that and sent it to the auditors. That's a summary of what we did in the past few weeks. Yes. Do you have any questions? I'll turn it over to the engineer.
I'll provide the board with a complete report of the public meeting next week, but a couple of items I wanted to touch on. Right now, we currently have out for bid the materials bid for materials for public works, bituminous materials and aggregate materials. The bids are to be opened later this week, March 1st. Also, the equipment bid is out right now on pen bid, and that's also to be opened March 1st. That's the bid for labor and equipment at an hourly rate to support the township. Also, the chip seal is out for bid right now. Chip seal approximately 5 miles of township roads, a little less than that. That's also out for bid right now. I'll keep that bid open later in March. And a grant application was submitted on behalf of the township to DCED for manhole linings. We've had some help from
3 weeks ago.
the Planning Commission Chair and the Central Regional Planning Commission.
The Procurement Valley Regional Planning Commission.
They gave us some support with a letter of support, and so that's in. The other thing that I wanted to bring to your attention tonight is we had a meeting the other week with some property owners along the area of Riverside and Avenue B relative to the easements necessary for the sanitary sewer line. I don't know if that's something that the board might want to discuss in executive session as a property matter. Regarding that, Supervisor Sachs attended that meeting as well and can bring some information to the table. At that meeting, a question was raised about a drainage problem on Riverside Avenue that the Public Works Director and I have both been aware of and been talking about. And a little while back, we had worked up a sketch of how we might solve that drainage problem before the sewer project comes through. Just today, I found some plans from improvements to Riverside Avenue that were done decades ago that tell me we have right-of-way out there to do it. And so once the equipment bid comes through, I expect we'll come back to the Board of Supervisors to continue talking about this and the pieces that would need to be acquired, and inlets and pipe and such that would need to be acquired to do this drainage project to solve a problem with water going towards somebody's house. Those are the only items on my report this evening.
What's the time frame for that, from start to finish? How big a project is that? Or yours, just to estimate?
Well, it would be done under the equipment bid, so it's gonna be a little bit subject to what the Public Works Department is dealing with that week or that month, but I think this is a project that's maybe 2 weeks total. Would you say that?
I would think so. In the neighborhood.
And
remove
the
all
goal-
the rocks and stuff?
And the goal would be to get that done before the sewer project comes through, so that the finished paving that's done with the sewer project would then cap all that off.
Sorry, I'm talking about the sewer, getting the sewage lines in there, how big a project is that?
Oh, that's a big project.
Right. 2 weeks ago.
That's a big project.
No, this
This is just a
for
drainage.
the
This is
drainage,
right,
to solve the
right,
problem from.
okay.
This is a drainage problem at the intersection of Riverside and Babington.
Yes.
It happens to be in the same area where eventually we expect sewer to be being installed once the easements are secured and the board moves forward with that project. So this is just about putting some inlets and piping in to solve a drainage problem at that intersection before the sewer project. As far as the sewer project, that has had all its permits for many months now, and has been really waiting on acquiring the easements necessary before we can finalize the documents and go after bid.
Right, but if theoretically that sewage project started tomorrow, how long will it take? That's my question.
It's 2 or 3 months. Because there's a pump station involved and such. And it's a lot of water. It's going all the way up Fenway Avenue, all the way down the other side.
Okay, you done, Karen?
I believe so.
Okay. We don't have a police report, Public Works.
What I have for tonight is to get approval, I have an estimate from T. Davis Masonry to repair the front wall over here on this side of the office building.
So you have two estimates.
I have two, but the estimate is quite a bit cheaper. So I went with the T. Davis one. We can go with the expensive one if you want.
Are they both reliable companies? You're familiar with both of them? Okay.
I saw, where did I see, they're not gonna plaster the backside of the wall?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. The brick stays, the front stays the
Yeah.
same, they just take the loose brick off the top and
Redo the top.
redo it and fix it.
And then, you know, they have to do something with the back end where it's all cracked and
Yeah,
stuff.
it needs it. I'm all right with it.
My motion.
I'll move.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
I do have one question. It looked like there are some stones that are a little bit loose right where the, like the front area where the overhang is meets the sidewalk. Did you notice that, or those?
That's a normal yearly situation, it'll be
Okay.
corrected shortly. What happens is, it freezes, the water gets on there and pops the brick, so we have to pull them up and reset them.
Okay.
It's an ongoing project.
Okay. Good.
That's everything I got.
Okay. On the manager report, we did the first one. Second is we have a request from Plymouth Ambulance for the replacement of the garage doors. And you should have copies of the estimate in front of you.
Do you know what time that is?
No, it was a separate sheet. It came in before the binder.
Somebody's gonna come and sit in the building and walk away. So I don't know, I can add something to it, I'll see if you have at this point.